Here we are taking a quick look at how to go ahead and clean some bad data. Specifically, the tool that I have up on the screen here is Microsoft SQL Server Data Quality Services. This is the client application that they've bundled in with their SQL 2012 release to go ahead and aid in very simply cleaning up bad data. You don't have to be a programmer, a database developer, or a hardcore technical person to go ahead and run this. If you're typically working in the role of subject matter expert, you work with a lot of data hands-on day to day, or you're just very simply having an interest in good, clean, high-quality data, this tool is definitely for you. I think the tool kind of lays out pretty well. The screen here definitely shows kind of the three main core pieces of functionality that you have. Kind of where I'm moving the mouse over here into this first column, we have knowledge base management. So this is the area where you go ahead and essentially have, I think, a pretty robust data dictionary functionality where you can define out what are the key categories, the key hierarchies of data, and really come up with the key descriptors or categorical information that you contain within your organization. And we'll go ahead and take a look at this, come back to this here in a second. This middle column as well here is for data quality projects. This is where we really get interactive, and I think the core of the sample that we'll go ahead and run through. We have a spreadsheet with some bad data. We'll create it as a data quality project and let you see interactively how that can be done and how you would, for example, use it on your desktop and for some of your day-to-day activities. And lastly as well too, we have administration. If you are more of an IT person working in a more technical role, you can do some server integrated administration activities. For purposes of this video, we won't go into detail on this, but it's definitely just good to know that these kind of facilities do exist there. So going back over here to the knowledge base management, certainly you can create a new completely custom knowledge base that contains absolutely and everything specific to your organization. Open an existing knowledge base, and it's kind of nice because Data Quality Services does ship with one database by default, and that's actually down here in our recent data set. So we'll actually go ahead and open it up and take a look at it. Okay, it's gone ahead and opened up for us, and the screen that we see here is the domain management. So within this knowledge base, it goes and lists out what various data domains it contains. So we can see here we have a domain for country and region with some 3-letter leading, 2-letter leading. We also have some other geographical information, U.S. counties, common last names, places. But then finally we have over here state. We're going to go ahead and use this in our specific example for data cleansing. But just as well, if you have other domain-related data, or I tend to describe this as categorical data, so for example, membership types or event registration types, or other specific codes that are being used within the organization, custom classifications. This is where you would go in and basically within your domain management set those values up such that when you have external data in the system, things that are entered by hand, you can go ahead and be validated against this. Try to think of these as the authoritative lists, so to speak. And I think state is actually a pretty good example of that. So we have state that's clicked on here, and I think the most compelling tab, in addition to properties and reference data and rules, are actually the values that are within the domain. There are only so many states in the United States of America, and we can start to begin to see those listed out here. So for example, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, and down on the list, if we just scroll over down here on the right hand side, we would see all those listed out. But just as well, it also understands that there are some abbreviations that could be acceptable. So for example, AL as a capital, ALA dot as another abbreviation. We can see how the classification is done, checkbox for being correct, X for being kind of an error kind of concept, and what those values should be corrected to. And that's consistent again for all 50 states. Again, taking the opportunity to make a parallel of conversation or presentation. If you have member types or other particular values, other ways that people have commonly misspelled things, you can set up the authoritative lists and the essentially authoritative corrections for what those data points would be. So taking a look at this here kind of I think presents at a very high level what the concept is. So we'll go ahead and finish this out. And no, we don't want to save any changes here, so we'll just wait for that to finish. Okay, so it's gone ahead and taken us back to the main screen here, and we'll actually go ahead and begin to work with a data quality project. What a data quality project is taking that bad data source, running it and applying the data against the knowledge base that we just looked at, and the output will essentially be all of our clean data that we want to have. So let's go ahead and actually open up a new project, and we'll just go ahead and do another sample. It sees the knowledge base that we're going to head and use, and if you had some custom knowledge bases defined, we could click the little drop down box here and it would give us the other ones to choose from. We're going to do the activity of cleansing. In another video, we'll certainly go ahead and take a look at matching. So if you have multiple systems, so for example, some piece of association management software, LMS software, an accounting system, typically those systems may contain multiple customer records or other things that would be duplicated. We could go ahead and, again, set up matching rules and figure out where a duplicate may be and resolve who the duplicates are. Another video for another time, and we'll just continue on with our cleansing activities that we're taking a look at here. So we'll click our next button. And our screen comes up, and this is where we actually go ahead and define the actual quality project itself. One of the key areas is this ribbon bar that is presented at the top. So we have a couple of steps. We're going to do some mapping of the data, let it run the cleansing activities, we're going to manage and view results, and then finally we're going to export those out to the actual clean data set. In our case, we're going to go ahead and do an Excel file, and let's actually go ahead and take a look at that file. I have it open here, and this again typically may be something that comes from a website registration form, other data that somebody may put together via spreadsheet, or things that may be entered in kind of a freehand sort of form. You've got a first name and a last name, an email address, a street number, city, but then finally we see that we have a problem with state. We can see here that in the first record we've got a misspelling of Delaware, we've got a concatenated value of Rhode Island, we have N Carolina, S Dakota, Rhode Island is concatenated again, so on and so forth. We got a bad misspelling of New York. So you can just, again, simply see some data that is not perfectly matched against what the correct spellings are for state. So that's kind of the objective here, is to go ahead and get those automatically cleaned up for our 1,000 records. And we have 1,001 here, but we have the first record row for the actual header. So doing this by hand would be a very, very labor intensive process. So definitely good to have some automation. So now we're going to go ahead and actually we'll just grab our dirty data file. It picks it up from the worksheet, and it's gone ahead and read it. And we're going to actually select that state for our source column, and we're actually going to do the cleansing operation against the state values that are coming out of our knowledge base, and specifically our data domain of US state. I think the client tool may have a little quirkiness in it, so we'll see if it gives us an error message here. Okay, yep. I think something that will go ahead and be fixed in the next release, so just a little quirky bug, but nothing to be too concerned about. So now here we've gone ahead and moved on to the actual cleansing tab. This is where we actually start and kick off the process, and that's what this button here identifies. So we'll just go ahead and run it. Right now it's actually going ahead and reading that Excel file, and it's going ahead and doing a pre-process and cleansing operations against that data set. This data set should process extremely quickly, hopefully here within a few seconds. In the lower portion of the screen, we go ahead and we have some statistics, so it'll tell us some corrected records, suggested invalid, and then also give us some greater detail down in the grid here. So it's gone ahead and it's just about, hold on real quick, just about to finish its process here. Okay, and it's gone ahead and actually finished what it needed to do. So for the cleansing operation with the state field from our Excel file against the knowledge base domain of US state, it corrected some values. It has some values that are suggested corrections. It was able to progress through and found all completed information that was there. And then we'll look over here, accuracy. It reports out corrected, suggested or new or invalid records. So now we have the opportunity, kind of going into what this next button is linked to, kind of slide this mouse back over here, kind of the manage and view results. So we go ahead and take a look at what those actually are. So click on this. Okay, and this is actually one of the very nice, very powerful features of the tool that we're using here. It sees for the particular domain And again, I think the visualization is done very, very well here, where for the state values, it's kind of going to tell us everything that it found or cleansed about that. If we were doing more cleansing, there'd be more information kind of listed down here, and you just very nice, very easily be able to progress your way through kind of the data cleansing processes en masse. So we'll focus in on this first tab right here, the suggested values. And as you can see, that Delaware, it went ahead and said, hey, Delaware does not match, but it corrects to DELA. So that is going to be the correct spelling of it. I'll go ahead and click on it here and make it the active selection. And you can see, again, the basic information corrected to a percentage kind of degree of confidence that it has in what the match is. And then finally, the actual record that was matched against. You can see the first name, last name, email, and the complete information about the record it was matched against. The video resolution that I'm using here is geared towards doing kind of a web or online presentation. When you're using this at your laptop workstation, you'll be using a much higher resolution, and I think you have much greater functionality down in here. But again, the concept becomes you can get a very detailed per record viewpoint of the data and do kind of the approve or reject for the actual specific record. For the case here, we can see that these, very are good matches. It even picked up that kind of bigger misspelling for New York, corrected it to this value here. So we're just going to go through and we're going to approve it again. This is the active record, and approve again. So for all those changes, we've gone ahead and actually approved those into our data set. So progressing over here to the new tab, we see some things that it did not go ahead and match up against. So we have N Dakota and South Dakota. It did not quite pick those up as North Dakota or South Dakota or correct anything else. So that's where it goes ahead and lets us actually enter information. So North Dakota, as you see down here, South Dakota. And again, the same sort of operation. We'll go over here and click approve. It's been accepted. We approve that again. And that's all we have to do to go ahead and make that change. So it does a great job of highlighting what those values are and the ease of functionality to go ahead and change them. Again, comparing and contrasting to doing it manually, it would just take a lot of time to go through and fish and sort those out and make your way through all those records. So here we go ahead and we're taking a look at what the actual changes are. We can see here that Rhode Island was corrected over to Rhode Space Island. There's a high degree of confidence here, and the reason was the data cleansing, and we have kind of a final approve reject process over here. There is one item to take a look at. The process did kind of do an auto assume for W Virginia to regular old Virginia, so we're actually going to go ahead and inline fix that right now. And it's kind of nice. You can see that it does recognize this was the other choice that it could go ahead and process against. So we're going to actually go ahead and select that out for West Virginia. And again, we can go on down here and we can just kind of see all the different operations that were performed. In addition, we have our N Dakota, S Dakota, and they're modified by user. And of course, we manually made that change, so we feel very, very confident about that. And finally, over here, we just have the corrected values. So again, for all the data corrections that were done between what would be suggested or new values, invalid or corrected, or correct themselves, we have full control kind of in a broad mass sense about what we're changing or cleansing those data values to. So very, very powerful, very, very easy tool to use. Simple example, but I do think it does a great job of highlighting the features and functionality. So I'm going to go down here and press the next button. So as you can see, we go ahead and we have kind of a final grid of what the output is going to be. We have some additional fields that were added here. So you can see first name added these as actual output. We'll just go over here. We have some other information as well too. Because we went ahead and we focused specifically on the state operator, you can see that state output, the state reason for how it was processed. You can see that DQS did perform a cleansing operation on it. The degree of confidence that it felt that was in the value there, and then the status. So you can see what values were accepted, what values are rejected, so on and so forth. Where this becomes especially handy is if you're running this cleansing process for, I think, a much more complex data set. You can hand this off to a programmer, a database developer that can do a much more kind of elegant re-import of the cleaned or cleansed data. But in a situation where you're trying to manage hundreds upon thousands or millions of records. This is, I think, is one of the best tools out there right now to go ahead and get you through the process of cleaning out some bad information. So in our case, you can export them directly, the results directly back to SQL Server, a CSV file. In our case, we'll simply just do an Excel file. We'll just go ahead and browse, and we'll just place this kind of right on the desktop. We'll just go look at, we'll just call it clean data, and we'll just do that for open. We're going to select data only, so it kind of takes us back to the root perspective of our data as well. If we did data and cleansing info, it would go ahead and give us the things such as confidence, the reason, the status, so on and so forth. But in our case, I think we want just something fairly simple and straightforward. Okay, well, through the magic of video editing, we arrived back here at our export process again, so we'll just simply do this one more time. And it sees that we already have a clean data spreadsheet output that exists, so we'll just go ahead and replace that one more time so you can see the export process running, and it's gone ahead and completed. So we'll close that out, and then we'll go over here and we'll actually kind of open the directory up, and we'll just do open here. And now we have our dirty data, but we also have our clean data. So we'll do an open on that, pop it open, take a look. We'll just expand our columns here, and as you can see, for the value of state, we have Delaware with the proper spelling, the correction of Rhode Island, we have our South Dakota, our North Carolina, and all the proper corrections that we have to state. So again, just kind of a good example of how to go ahead and clean a kind of simple perspective of data. We'll close this down, and we'll do a finish on our project here, and it takes us back to our home screen. So that is Microsoft Data Quality Services, a simple example, but yet a very powerful one to go ahead and arrive at data cleansing within your organization. Thanks a lot.